What's going on, everyone? Want to talk about the Barcelona game. I wrote down some things on my phone here. I was watching the game, just so when I came back here, I had a little bit of a roadmap to what I want to talk about. Not necessarily the exact order that I wrote it in, but I do want to start by saying Joan Garcia is wow. Like, I've been an avid Barcelona fan probably since 2008, 2009. And I wasn't the biggest fan of Victor Valdez to begin with. And I know over the last few years, a lot of people started getting nostalgic and stuff because of Ter Stegen's performances and saying like they miss Victor Valdez. But one thing I would give Victor Valdez is he owned his box. Ter Stegen never really felt like he owned the box. Even there's a historical clip from 5, 6 years ago when they were playing Pez, Messi, Suarez, and Neymar. Ter Stegen came out and Suarez was like, that's unrealistic. The German wouldn't come catch that cross, right? So Valdez did own his box, and from what I've seen yesterday and the little bit of Espanol that I watched purely for Joan Garcia last season, is he owns his box. He commands his box. He comes out. He makes himself big in front of goal or in the one-on-one situations and stuff. And I feel like he played unbelievable. He kept us in the game. Obviously, like we missed a few chances, like the Olmo, Rafinha, the Rafinha and Ferran miscommunication a few times, but he definitely, we don't deserve to even walk out of there with a point, and we did. And Vallecano away from home is always tough. We've seen it over the last 3, 4 years, even with Xavi. Like it's been the hardest game for us over the last few years. So they played really well against our offside trap with Easy. I don't know, Easy, the bald guy. I don't know how to pronounce his name, but they were sending him in as bait, kind of, and they beat our offside trap every single time. So, Joan Garcia, round of applause. Thank you for that. I want to talk about Danny Olmo, who I've always been a big fan of as a number 10 myself, but I never wanted him at the club because I just feel like it's so hard, especially in a four back, to get the best out of a number 10. Too many times they have to drop deep to be the third midfielder in build up, and they can't use their main qualities that deep, I feel like. Olmo, he has great, like, close control, close combinations, he strikes the ball well, but, it's not the most useful in the build up phase. And I feel like once we start getting counter attacks and stuff, he slows the game down more times than he really doesn't have to. But I'm not saying I'm against Olmo. I have the Olmo jersey myself. He was great for Spain. Just feel like yesterday for sure he slowed the game down way too many times. And I feel like if Mark Bernal comes back or Gavi comes back, a more controlled midfield would be better. But at the same time, at the beginning of the season, we're still trying new things. Lewandowski wasn't able to start. Ferran's not a number 9. He's more like a jack in the box. I don't know. That's also what I want to talk about Varane. When Varane plays through the middle, for me, he's not involved in the game. And on Twitter it didn't go as noticed is what I thought, and I've seen other people say as well because of Joan Garcia's game, for example, or Pedri, like week in, week out, you see the comps. But Varane through the middle doesn't he's not convincing, we know that. He is the backup at the end of the day, but just like something has to change. I know the financial situation. I feel like he was best on the right, which I understand he can't be on the right because of Lamine Yamal. But it would have just been nice if Ferran decided, do I want to hold up a little bit and link up, or am I gonna make runs in behind? It kind of just felt isolated, and I don't know. I feel like I can't blame him because he's not a striker. He's just being put there. But I really do hope he finds his thing, his gimmick. Like, kind of like Pedro, during the 2008 until, I don't know, 2016, 17-ish. Pedro, like, whether it was starting or off the bench, he kind of was like that guy that popped up at the end of the build up, he finished the cross goal ball. He was silent, never in the headlines or whatever, but he had, 10 goals, 10 assists, like something calm like that. That would be nice for Ferran. I'm not expecting big, big numbers, even though now, okay, you play 55 games. I kind of want to see 15, 20 goals. But I'm not really caring too much about statistics. I want to see improvement in the actual game. Whether it's hold up play, whether it's taking your man on, whether it's making runs and getting to the ball, whether it's link up play, like it doesn't matter. I just want him to pick a route. You can't just be a little bit of everything at the top level because you don't. There's no purpose for you unless it's 10 minutes left in a game, and that's not what I want for him, especially for someone that I think Barcelona paid 55 million for. That's just a letdown in our financial situation, right? Rafinha, I don't know. I don't know. I was never a fan of Rafinha. I understand last season was a monster season for him, but just like I mentioned with Ferran, statistics for me is not everything. Not only do I not think his statistics from last year are sustainable numbers, it's hard because he's left-footed playing on the left wing. So naturally, him to dribble at defenders, he would be running towards the corner flag, which is not ideal for him, right? Which is why he doesn't tend to dribble at defenders too much. But even if you remember when he played on the right wing, he never really dribbled at people. And I'm not saying he has to be like Lamine Yamal, but I just feel like if Lewandowski's not on the field, soaking in the center backs, hold up play, whatever. And Lamine, he's there yesterday, but if one of those two are on the field, there's sometimes not enough space for Rafinha to attack. Because I don't necessarily see him as a left winger or a right winger. I think his best position is just a space attacker, a space eater. Lewandowski drops in for link up play, pulls people out of position. Lamine Yamal, guys come to defend him. He's dribbling on the right side. There's always going to be space somewhere. Rafinha darts into that space. And that was majority of last season, right? And I think he did really well at that role. I think it's what Flick is aiming for. But in a game like yesterday, he wasn't too effective because Ferran Torres doesn't have the same gravity Lewandowski has. Lamine Yamal not getting an overlap from Koundé, so it's hard to take guys on 2v1 consistently. Koundé doesn't overlap, unfortunately, and it's like, yeah, you can't blame him, right? He's a center back at the end of the day. So it's so frustrating to watch sometimes when Rafinha gets the ball and he's getting Ballon d'Or shouts, and it's like, can we dribble at our guy? Can we make an impact ourselves without being the receiver of a Lamine Yamal pass, a Pedri pass? I want to see Rafinha try to take a little bit more initiative going at defenders. And I had high hopes for Rashford too this season because I think he can play the space eater role really well also. We know about his pace, we know about his shooting technique, but he's right-footed, so I think coming in from the left will be easier than it is for Rafinha because he's coming into his right. It's been a slow start, I understand. He hasn't really played in this type of system. He's never played in this league against these types of systems. So I'm willing to give Rashford time. I still have excuse me, still have high hopes for Rashford, and I just want to see when everybody's fully fit, maybe Rafinha behind the striker, because I do think his link-up play is good. I do think he works like a dog. I do think he has great shooting technique. He has good IQ. It's just I don't see him being too successful on the left where he can't cut in, and it's not sustainable that he's gonna get 40 goals again from, finishing back post crosses. Even, I don't know, just for example, it popped up in my head. His hat trick against Bayern Munich last year, I think all three were very savable goals. So it was a Hall of Fame season. Don't get me wrong. I don't think it's sustainable though. So I would like to see a few times throughout the season if Rafinha can play behind the striker with Rashford and Lamine Yamal on the wings, and of course Lewandowski for this season. Hopefully next season. I mean, the striker market's, Isak's gone, Ekitike's gone. Alvarez is going to be involved. Like, how are you going to get Alvarez? How are you going to get Holland? Voldemort or whatever just went to Newcastle, so it's going to be tough. But let's focus on this year. Let's focus on week, of course. Going to be updating you guys. And the last thing I wanted to talk about, I was going to talk about Garcia's like passing and stuff, but it's nothing new, honestly. And it's not like he's going to be a consistent starter at the center back position, so nothing really for me to say. I wanted to talk about Frankie. I mean, Pedri, we know. I don't really have to say too much. Frankie, I think, played good. I think his ball carrying was helping us beat the press a little bit. But I just wish, and this is something I've always wished as a Barcelona fan, as a Frankie Young fan, he was a little bit more dangerous in the final third. He never shoots outside the box. I just feel like I wish he took a little bit more of a risk near the box. I understand he's press resistant and he likes to keep possession and stuff. But sometimes without that risk is when games end 1-1. There's 5, 10 minutes left in a game. Let's go for it. We want to win the game. We want to win this league. But yeah, that was good. And obviously, we're gonna end with the star boy. It's not like Lamine had a bad game. I just feel like Barcelona is still relying on him too much. And I understand how good he is. He's probably the best player in the world, if not the best. He's top three. But you can clearly see how reliant they are on him. And without an overlapping right back already, it's very difficult. It's not sustainable. He's not going to beat the 2-on-1 every time. You can't even win as a football player, as a football fan. You can't even win the 1-on-1 every time. It's not sustainable. Now it's a 2-on-1 until an overlap comes, or even the underlap can work too. But the problem with Barcelona is if you're playing slow, once the underlapper receives the ball, it's probably going to go sideways or diagonally backwards. So it's not really what you want when you're looking for goal. But I do understand in terms of control and depending on the player, the underlap could be good. But if you've seen yesterday, the 2 or 3 times that Kunde did overlap, or in previous games, Eric Garcia did overlap, it's like a good chance almost every single time. So I hope they look to do that a little more. And I hope that, the result, I feel like it's been a little not last season. I think Flick said something about that too. He's saying last year we played more like a team. This year it seems like everyone thinks we're on top of the world because of last year. I understand. And hey, we walked away with 1-1 draw. I could only be happy because of number one, Joan Garcia's performance, and number two, because we didn't come away with 0 points. I hope for the future of the season we pick up. Flick figures out kind of his guy and how he wants to play once people come back from injury. Once Gavi gets a little bit more minutes, or Marc Bernal, there's always Casado as well. He figures out how he wants to use Olmo, how he wants to use Fermin, how he wants to use Rafinha. Like there's so many variables, and all we can do as we're Twitter gurus at the end of the day, right? We're just Twitter. What are they? Twitter tacticals, but Flick is where he is for a reason. I hope he figures it out. And I hope that honestly, I'm looking for a nice Champions League run this year. So we'll see. Anyway, I'll be back with it's international break. I might review the Italy game. I'm Italian. And I'm also going to be posting tennis content as well. So if you're interested in that, we'll see. But I'll be back anyway. Love you guys. Take care.